This video is sponsored by KovaaK's, and we're gonna go through 3 different things that you can do to not only improve your aim, but also your overall in-game performance with it. These very basic sounding things are comfort, consistency, and good form or posture. Before going through these, it's very important for you guys to categorize yourself as players, so you can optimize your training to be as efficient as possible. If you play for clips or highlights, improving your aim is of course going to be much more beneficial for you than it is for somebody who plays to compete in ranked or pro level. Also, you should be able to tell your weak points in game. For example, I see a lot of people complaining that they lost a fight because of bad aim when they actually did because of bad positioning. That's why just practicing your aim can actually negatively affect your competitive in-game performance, as it can give you that false confidence so you end up taking more of these bad fights because you are basing your game too much on aim. This is why I spent 2 months on research and testing so I could find an efficient practice routine that would make me a better player overall. You yourself do not need to do a lot of work to find good scenarios in KovaaK's. There are these pre-built playlists. And you can also customize KovaaK's as you please. For example, you can change the visuals with walls, enemy colors and stuff, and then you can change the kill sounds or download new sounds if you want to. But let's go on with the actual video. Let's start with comfort, and by this I do not mean lounging on your chair like JDM. More so, I'm talking about those in-game situations when a certain kind of flick or tracking an enemy or moving your mouse in a certain way just feels bad and uncomfortable. This may be because of many things, but most of the time I'd say it's because it's a rare scenario for you that will not happen that often in game. A very simple example for this is vertical aiming in CSGO. You have to perform vertical flicks every now and then, but it's so rare that practicing that in deathmatch or in a proper match is extremely inefficient, so this is where KovaaK's comes to save the day. Aim training is the absolute best way to generalize your skill set, and it can prove to be key for improvement to run scenarios that are not natural for the game that you play. As an example, focusing on click time in scenarios might feel like the best way to improve in CS, but I actually recommend to run almost everything else than click timing. Scenarios for vertical aiming, tracking and target switching improves your overall aim and mouse control, and basically just forces you to be more comfortable in just moving your mouse in different ways. That added comfort can increase your confidence, help you with concentration as you don't need to think about how to move your mouse mid-game, and the improved mouse control, which will of course help with recoil control, flicks and everything. I asked VF Sirius for an opinion on this, and he seems to have the same idea. Sirius used to be a Quake pro and is one of the best aimers in the world when it comes to competitive games. For just specifically practicing click timing, custom CSGO deathmatch servers are already very efficient, and you get the included benefits of recoil control, movement, etc, etc. But of course, if your game is click timing heavy and it does not have a fast respawn mode, then it can be beneficial for you to run click timing scenarios as well. The ultimate goal to run scenarios that are not very natural feeling for you is to improve your mouse control, which will make you more comfortable with moving your mouse in all kinds of ways. This will help you with those rare in-game scenarios and improve your confidence and comfort, and through comfort even concentration, which will overall improve you in game. The second thing we will focus on is form and posture, which will improve your long-term performance, but also of course your overall health. If you are like me, practicing good form and posture in your game can be very tough because there are so many things that you have to concentrate on. For example, in CSGO you are focusing on aim, movement, recoil control, where to go next when you frag somebody, etc, etc. Every time I go DM with the idea of sticking to a sitting position with good form and posture, I end up with bad form in about 2 minutes and forget about the whole thing, or I just end up being irritated because I can't hit anything while practicing good form. But with KovaaK's you only have to focus on aiming, which doesn't require that much concentration, and you are basically aiming with no downtime whatsoever and against circles who don't shoot back. This is why I've found aim trainers to be extremely good for fixing your posture, and this is something I've done in the past 2 weeks. So I sit with my back and neck straight, my arms in a 90-degree angle, and I focus on having my shoulders and elbows relaxed. Then just go in and aim train. You should focus on keeping your form and ignore the scores for the first few days or a week. My scores went down quite a bit when I started, but now I'm doing better or equal than before. I think that practicing good form with the challenge mode is still good as you get those natural breaks in between runs. Overall, good posture means that you are less likely to get injuries or discomfort, which means you will be able to practice for longer. And I've noticed improvement in certain kind of movements with my mouse. For example, any kind of movement near the right edge of my mousepad resulted in being choppy beforehand because I felt this tension in my shoulder, but when my form is good there is no discomfort and I'm able to keep the movements much smoother. So I've been able to improve my smooth tracking when my hand ends up in an uncomfortable angle. Then finally we will look at how you can improve your consistency with aim trainers, and consistency is one of the most important things for competitive gamers. Being consistent is very hard, everybody has bad days, everybody's tired sometimes, everybody's hungry sometimes, there are many things that can affect your in-game performance through consistency. The keys would be to always eat well, sleep well, keeping your mental health strong, but there are of course just things that are out of your control. So to improve your ability to stay consistent, we want to improve your ability to adapt. Basically, I want you to be ready for those days when you're not feeling your best, so we are kind of simulating some situations when you might not feel so good. The easiest thing to do is just to change your sensitivity in KovaaK's and run some scenarios for a day or two and change your sense again and then repeat the same steps in the game that you play. I haven't found this very effective myself though, I can adapt to a new sensitivity very fast, but changes in my setup can prove to be difficult to get used to at times. So what I've done is to just adjust the height of my desk a tad and play with that for a couple of days. I've also adjusted my armrests, my chair, anything basically that has an effect where you clearly need to adapt to a new environment in a way. Start with KovaaK's, run different kind of scenarios as an example for CSGO or Valorant, go for vertical aiming, target switching and tracking and do that for about 20 to 40 minutes. Then go DM for about 30 minutes and then move on to proper matches. The meaning for all of this is to make you adapt to a new environment, that the more you have to adapt, the better you get at adapting. Of course, there are other things as well, for example, you have to be able to adapt your playstyle and that will only come with playing your specified game. This is basically what enabled me to go pro back in the day. I played many different kinds of games with different kind of GTKs and weapons which generalized my mouse control. With KovaaK's this is much more efficient than it ever has been before because basically there is no downtime and you have to only focus on your aim. But in a professional setting, aim isn't often not the culprit for you playing bad. I asked Rockin Issue, who is a player for Noble, plays Apex professionally and plays in ALGS at the moment, that what is the most important things for an Apex player. He listed game sense, communication and composure and thought that aim only comes after those three. And looking at professional Apex lobbies, that definitely does seem to be the case. This same thing of course applies to CS, Valorant and pretty much any other game. I just wanted to have Apex as an example because many people seem to think that Apex is aim heavy. If I started playing CS now or I was an advanced player trying to get better, I would combine practice with a competitive ranked mode like Face It with some CSGO deathmatch, and I would include KovaaK's scenarios that have tracking, vertical aiming and target switching. Of course, if your click timing is below par, you should also do click timing as well. This will help you get more comfortable with everything and improve your mouse control. Don't overdo it though, for example 1 hour of deathmatch is the absolute max per day and about 40 minutes of aim training I would say. You can of course have days when you completely skip deathmatch and competitive matches and you only do aim train, then I would recommend about 2 hours maybe with good breaks. But I would always include all types of aiming for each day. Don't focus too much on having good scores in KovaaK's. Good scores do not necessarily mean you have good aim and bad scores do not mean that you have bad aim. All competitive games have quite a bit of downtime and I myself I'm very used to that, so having to focus for 1 minute and to be precise in tracking or flicking seems to be quite hard for me at this point and it seems like I'm not built for it. That shows in my KovaaK's scores, but not at all in game. I have been using this system of mine for about 3 weeks and I do notice an improvement in aim trainers, but I do not notice an improvement in CS yet. It's hard to judge how much of that improvement in KovaaK's is actually because of my aim and how much is because I've played it more and I actually have learned those scenarios a little bit more now. But what I know for sure is that I can actually play CS deathmatch for longer and my aim seems to be more consistent on those long sessions. So if I keep running this, it will for sure help me get better in game as well. Don't underestimate the importance of comfort, good posture and form. Check this video right here for the 3 mice that I aim the best with at the moment and check this one for my favorite mouse pads. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you enjoy my content, hit the subscribe button and see you in the next one.